I come actually from the city of Al-Ain. So this is actually a very, very special event for me. What I want to talk to you is about today is a number. This number is very important for me, but I think a lot of you will say our perspective of that number is not important. What I'm trying to do within the next 3 minutes of conversation that I'm going to have with you, convince you that this number is relevant. So the number is 45. So what's so significant about 45? 45 is my age. Yeah, I'm old. Thank you very much. So for an individual who is 60 years old today, will look at me and say, this is a young man, right? For an individual who's 30 years old today, he or she will say, this is an old man. It's perspectives. So at the end of the day, 15 years, I'm a young man. Another 15 years, I'm an old man. I have been reflecting on my life over the last, say, 10 years or so. And it's always healthy for an individual to sit quietly, even though I'm not a quiet person, and reflect on his life. Because all of us, young, especially the young, powerful, energetic, innovative individuals, they always have doubts. They always have questions. And today, throughout all of this day and all of the speeches, wonderful speeches you're going to hear today, what you need to do is tap into that knowledge and experience. Be a young speaker or old speaker like myself, tap into that knowledge. We always say as leaders of industries, of our communities, we cannot connect with the youth. We're having trouble connecting with the youth. And I see that as a false value proposition. If we cannot connect with our youth, you know what's the result of that? We're not connecting with our future. It is very simple. We always hear that, and as young and inexperienced individuals, you'll say, they're just lying to us. We're not. You are the future. How do I know this? Today, I run the aerospace industry in Abu Dhabi. My mandate is to build this industry from scratch, create value-added jobs for UAE National, have an impact on diversifying the economy of Abu Dhabi. But guess what? 45 years ago, I was a baby. 6 years after that, I got into elementary. Another 12 years, I graduated from high school. Another 4, well, in my case, 6 years, I graduated from college. Yeah, I'm a slow learner. In all of the stages of my life, I didn't know what I was going to do. See, you don't have a crystal ball. You don't know where you're going to be. You don't know what you like. Sometimes you like things to do, but is that your career? Is that your ambition? Is that your individuality? You don't know. See, and this is the issue. This is the dilemma we live with. This is where we do not communicate. We need to give you these stories. We need to give you those guidance. We need to tell you without influencing you. See, that's a difference. That's a very hard balance. I need to tell you, what could you do with your life? Shine a light maybe on some of the doubts, challenge them, but then allow you, the individual, to be the individual, to be yourself. So this is the whole purpose in my mind out of today. Perspective. I'm an old man or I'm a young man. What is your perspective on life? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Is a doctor a successful individual? Is a doctor more successful than, let's say, an artist? Does this community need the doctor as much as it needs the artist? The answer is yes. But it's all about perspective. Respecting ourselves, respecting the individuals in front of us is clearly the way to build this community. So perspective is very, very important. The other thing you want to do is you want to talk about truth. What is an absolute truth? There is none. One absolute truth in life, which is death. All of us will die. Some may be young or old, depends on your perspective, right? Philosophies, theories, realities that I believed in 10 years ago are demolished today, right? We evolve as human beings. The culture, all of our lives, all of our humanities does evolve. So whatever I believed to be the absolute truth 10 years ago, when I was a young man, are not true today. Take that with a grain of salt. To all of you young individuals, there is no absolute truth. There are rules, there are expectations, there is a community, there is a culture, there is an environment. You need to live within those. But then define your own truths. Do not allow anybody to force you to think the way they want you to think. One of the always good examples I give to my young engineers when I go out and have these wonderful chances to talk to them is about the dilemma we have in the UAE. We don't have enough human capital in our country. And one of the dilemmas I have in Al-Ain is a very simple fact. We allow our young girls to finish high school, to go through colleges, and get good grades. I'm embarrassed to say this, but it's reality. The number of young graduates out of engineering schools from females are much more than the boys, right? Yeah, I know. Rub it in, why don't you? Their grades are much higher. They're smarter. I would not admit that to my wife, so nobody writes it in the newspapers. But they are. But the dilemma we have in our country is very simple. A lot of them will get married to young engineers. The pool is very small. And then they'll decide not to work. Can you imagine the investment that this country has put into that individual's brain? Be it boy or girl, doesn't matter. And then at the end of the day, she gets married and sits home. Now, I'm not saying that's wrong. There is no absolute truths, remember? But for an individual in my position who's begging the government, begging the culture, begging the country to give me an output of my human capital that's going to build aerospace industries, semiconductors, healthcare, nuclear power, then we have a failure. So take it as an example. There is no absolute truth. I look at my life, as I said, and I reflect on it. And I always try to say, what brought me here? I try to connect the dots in my life to say, what brought me here? What are the key decision factors in my life, in my career, that made me, on a personal level and a professional level, that made me what am I today? I met a group of young future leaders of Abu Dhabi a while back, and I was supposed to give them a lecture or a lesson about how to become a good leader. I found it very difficult in my heart to say I am a leader. I'm in a leadership position, that's for sure. But how do you characterize a leader? It's very difficult. There is no textbook, there is no template, there is no one fix of a leader. So what I told them is what I'm going to tell you today. It's very simple. To my young colleagues, to this bright-eyed, future, innovative leaders of the UAE, you're going to get decision points in your life. And you're going to have a lot of doubts in your mind. One of the decision points in my life was I wanted to be a doctor, but I like being an engineer. I had a catastrophic instance in my life that made me decide to become an engineer, not a doctor. No, it wasn't that bad. I'm just being melodramatic. I broke my toe, okay, and the doctor didn't treat it very well, so I decided to become an engineer. I hated doctors. Simple, see? A decision point in my life. The rationale is ridiculous, but you know what? It made me become an engineer. I love medicine till today. I am very, I get excited when I talk to doctors and when I take my father to the doctor or when I do something around medicine. I loved it with passion, but I never regretted the decision, because if I regretted the decision, guess what? I will never evolve. I will never move with my life. You're going to get those decision points. And whatever the rationale, if it's really thought through, if it's really a well-thought process of how am I going to get to the decision, or a very simple, ridiculous reasoning like myself, that's fine. But you've made a decision. That is the right decision for you at that point of life. Never regret a decision. Move on with it. Do not spend, we call it paralysis by analysis. Do not spend too much time analyzing things. It is good to ask people, ask for opinion, but then at the end of the day, make your own decision. Work very, very hard. One of my success factors, I think, in my life is I worked very hard on everything I was given. Every position, every job, I learned, I worked very hard, I was very humble. I asked the smallest individual in that organization to teach me. Never, ever be too big, too smart, and too wise to learn. A human being never stop learning. Because the day you stop learning is when somebody's throwing dust over your face in your grave. Always remember that. Be humble. When you're talking to someone, doesn't matter their race, their gender, their age, old or young. I take wisdom sometimes from young kids. I get lectures from my daughter, Aisha. She's 3 years old. She sits and she lectures me all the time. And I learn a lot from her. I learned that this is not my age anymore. This is not my world anymore. This is the iPad kids' world, right? When she comes and she says, Baba, teach me how to play a game on the iPad. And I look at her and say, baby, I really don't know what to do. She goes for 5 minutes and they come, see, this is the way you play it. Told you, I'm challenged. The last thought I want to leave you with, ladies and gentlemen, change is good. If you learn in your life to embrace change, you'll go far. Because as human beings, we will always be faced with change. You have a plan in the morning to go out. You're wearing your nice red high heels shoes, and you go into the first step of the staircase and it breaks. It's not a disaster. Go wear the nice blue high heels shoes. Unless you like Sarah and she's got 4 pairs of red high heel shoes. Right? That is change. But see, the way you react to that instant defines you. Says a lot about your character. So embrace change. I never asked for a job. I was always given a job. You know what? And when I was younger, I used to fight it a lot. I don't want to do that. That's a boring office. That's a boring job. I don't want to do that. But then I get smacked around. I'm forced to take the job. And I take it. And guess what? I try my best to learn and do and deliver. And then you get to where you are. It is very funny for myself to say when I graduated high school in 1985, and if you were born behind that, please don't raise your hand, till today, and say, what did I do to get to where I am? Very difficult. Almost 90% of those choices were not mine. But then this is life, right? You're given opportunities, and it's up to you. Don't look at them as challenges. Look at them as opportunities. You're given these opportunities, and at the end of the day, you decide what you do with them. Either you're going to succeed, you're going to be a miserable failure. And nobody wants to be a failure.